This is the Ben Herman Show. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Ben Herman Show. Today we have Chucky Brown on the interview, and he has over 25 years of experience as a DJ, professionally spinning in Miami, San Francisco, New York, Barcelona, and of course, our local town, Las Vegas, as well. This experience has actually provided him the ability to create a music resource for every DJ and music lover, and it's called the Bible of Party Music. So we're definitely really excited to find out more about that. What's up, Chucky? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Ben. How are you? Good to be here.
Good, man.
That was quite an introduction, so thank you very much. Yes.
Of course, man. I mean, we're DJs, so we're used to this, right? we're used to the mic work.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
So love to find out, man. Like, take me back to 25 years ago. How did you get into DJing in the first place?
All right. So it was kind of born into it. My father was a record collector. So
cool.
He decided to grab a couple of thousand of records, like let's say 30,000 over his career, starting back when rock and roll started, like back in the 50s. He started collecting. And then at some point he said, hey, the records, they're not going to be being sold anymore. At that time, they're getting phased out. So he started collecting tapes. And then he ended up getting a 25,000 piece cassette collection. And he wouldn't give in to the CDs. And then at that point I was in college, and I went away and I started to work for the school radio station. So that's how it all got started.
Nice. And then did you enter the club scene or the private event scene over time?
Good question. So it was the club scene. I worked as a bike messenger in New York City, and the guy who was the dispatcher, he was a DJ. James Ice Bentley is the credited for starting my club world. And he said, you know what, we're going to go out after work to this place called Mars. It was a 5-story nightclub in the meatpacking district, when it was a time when they still had all the people walking the street and having fun over there. And that was the spot. It was Mars and Palladium and the Tunnel. That's where the nightclub thing got started. We did that like amateur in the bedroom for 6-7 years. And then I said, you know, there's too many New Yorkers in New York. I took a trip down to Miami one rainy afternoon. And on a Tuesday night, people were partying. And I said, man, this is where I need to be. So then the following season, which for them is like winter, so starting in February, I moved down to Miami. And that was in the year 1995.
Were you primarily into house or hip hop around that time, or
I like that
more
question.
club pop?
Right.
Yeah.
It was already an open format thing. I mean, it was house. House was like the primary thing that was like driving all nightclubs, but hip hop, if you introduced all the hip hop parties in Miami, was where it was at. So on a Sunday night at this place called Lua's, there was a party that this guy, Mark Leventhal and Sugar, they did those parties, and it was hip hop. And then Tuesday night, home cooking, there was another hip hop party. So it was house, but then on the fringe was hip hop everywhere. Yeah, down in Miami.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Man, it brings me back to my club days as well. I'm very similar to you. I didn't have a dad that was like a record collector, but you know, my start was also about 25 years ago, and was primarily in hip hop, just because of the U.S. But I actually grew up in Europe part of my life as well. So over in Europe, it's all about EDM, right? So house, drum and bass, techno, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I had a lot of electronic background just growing up in Europe. And then when I came over here, everybody just seemed to love hip hop, right? So it's like hip hop kind of ruled the land. So that's like, what
people were scared to play hip hop in the clubs because it made people go so insane. And then finally it started to break through as more mainstream and pop. What city were you in for your nightclub?
Primarily on the West Coast. So all the way up to Washington and all the way down to San Diego. So really like up and down the West Coast.
Nice.
And I was also on the radio for a while as well. That was primarily like more top 40 hip hop, and it was around the 2010 era. So I don't know if you remember that. That's where like David Guetta blew up, and you know, even Tiesto came back, which is kind of interesting because you know Tiesto has been huge since the 90s, right? But he started doing collaborations with like top 40 hip hop artists, right? So it's this blend of the EDM movement in 2010, which was like, you know, EDM music with hip hop vocals overriding it. So like the Pitbulls, for instance, right? That's when they blew up as well. So that was like kind of the era that was on the radio.
They crossed it over. That's right.
Exactly. Yeah. And then fast forward me to today. So what inspired you to start this new resource for DJs?
As I've been DJing all these years and I'm getting older, I figure there's got to be a way to keep this going. And then what I did was when I had left Miami and I moved to San Francisco and I started a DJ school. And part of the DJ school thing was I would have a fun facts thing where I would ask you some questions and you'd give me some information. And one of the questions is, what's your favorite songs out right now? And what I found out was, a lot of people who are coming in to learn to DJ as students, they were putting me onto the hot new stuff. You know what I'm saying? But also they didn't necessarily know if they went out to a club and they heard something, where they could find it. Now, this is before Shazam and all that stuff was out. So, it wasn't that you could just pick up your phone and find out what a song was. Also, the DJs, as you probably know, everybody's starting to play more commercial and more mainstream. So you have to go to these niche parties, kind of like your guy Happa was talking about in that last episode, where you got to find your niche. And in the niche parties, you can go deeper and hear deeper music. But how do you ever find out where this music is? So I said to myself, instead of trying to keep that information, why don't I just take all of the music, that I have, the library, and then I'll put it out online and let everybody have a chance to see what the library is. So what I say is for the BPM.com, which is the Bible Party Music, the website, it's like having access to your favorite DJs' library.
Crates. Yeah.
Specifically, by luck, I met this guy, Dave Fogg, out here in Las Vegas. You might know him from when he was the resident at Luxor, right? Mm-hmm. And Ra, the club. And he, at the time, just like your other guys' stories like DJ Bar, and they're talking about how they got their digital files and they didn't want to be, down with Serato or this, that. Well, I kind of embraced it fast because this guy, Dave Fogg, was like, you need to get this. And then by luck, he was friends with DJ AM. So he had like DJ AM's
oh, wow.
files. Yeah. And then I was able to get all those files. And then you have all of these songs, and if we don't pass them down and let people know what they are, then, they're eventually just going to kind of fade into the darkness. So that's kind of what the site is trying to do is make sure that people have access to this music, and it's all on demand.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I remember, what AM would do. I mean, Serato. Scratch Live, right, which was like the first version of Serato, right? That was like to the public. Shortly after AM, so I mean, this has been a part of the club scene for many years, right? Where DJs would actually cover up their labels, right? So that way nobody could look over their shoulders to figure out what they're playing, right? They actually came out with a DJ AM mode, which was actually to cover up the artist in the track. So you'd only see like the BPM, the timestamp and so forth, your cue points, but you wouldn't actually see what, so that way, if anybody ever happened to look over your shoulders as a DJ, you wouldn't be able to see it. So for you to actually get a hold of AM's crates is actually a pretty big deal because he was so protective of those.
Yeah, it was sick luck, and Dave Fogg, that's my guy.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to him. If he somehow somebody talks to him and says, yeah, you got to shout out, on the Ben Herman show from Chucky. That was when he hooked me up. That AM mode is something I used to teach in the class. And it's like back in the day, if you had your exclusive remix and everything, you didn't want nobody to know what you're playing. You would have to shift that to that incognito mode in Serato. Why don't we put that in the comments if you remember what the shortcut was for that? Because I sure don't. But if somebody,
right.
That would be great. Toss it in the comments, right?
Yeah, I never used it. I just believe in I just had an abundance mindset since childhood. So I just believe like, hey, sharing the wealth is how we actually raise the industry. So instead of being super protective, share the knowledge, which ironically, makes a ton of sense that I then became, a mentor for DJs of helping bring them up as well. Because a lot of folks that are more scarcity mindseted, they wouldn't want to share their secrets, right? Or the things that they figured out with anybody else because they feel like that's their competitive edge. Where I feel like, man, like the saying goes, right? A rising tide lifts all boats, right? So we want to make sure that we raise the entire industry by helping one another out. And by the way, guys, there's plenty of gigs to go around for everybody.
Tons of gigs, yes. And clearly AM, as much as he guarded his looking over his shoulder, he was nice enough to give Dave his whole entire music library at the time. So yeah, it's amazing. It goes to show you everybody's sharing.
And so, what else do you have featured on your website besides, of course, DJ AM's crates?
We got 60 genres, right?
Yeah.
And then they're broken down into certain categories, which are by relevance. Like, so something that made it was like Bollywood. So let's say you had a gig and you had to do a Bollywood gig. We got all the Bollywood bangers in there. You got hip hop. You got them broken down by years. You got house music. You got it broken down by freestyle. You got it broken down by groovy house or tech house. So you go on the website and then you're just going to search around. And I mean, if you love music, you don't have to be a DJ to love the site either. I mean, if you just love music, you're going to find every song you've ever wanted to ever hear in your lifetime. I mean, that's like the catchphrase. And so the work is getting cut. And it's kind of strange because the reason why I started the DJ school, maybe you have your own also teaching that you do, is that that came about because of the expression, everybody wanted to be a DJ, right? Mm-hmm. So, hey, why didn't I get that gig? Because my uncle's doing it. Okay, cool. At the time, you might hate that, but like you said, but why should we hate that? Let's embrace that. If the uncle wants to do the gig, then let's not worry about doing the gig. Let's help him learn how to DJ better. You know what I'm saying? So we could jump in with that, right? So that's the whole thing with these crates and like sharing this music. DJ Riz was on this thing. Have you ever heard of the Lobby board? It was all about Baltimore club music, like out of Baltimore, like Rock the Con and a bunch of these other DJs. They used to post on this board. It was like a little bit of a offshoot of Serato community board. It's got its own like life, and then it became super like underground spot that everybody would share music and whatnot, all these mashups and white label stuff, and right.
Nice.
And there was a post on there where like either Riz or Sizz, one of those guys from the Crooklyn Clan, because they had the vault and they were complaining that they were selling their disco record collection. Let's say it was 1,000 records, and like, man, like what would you do to get your hands on that? And the complaint was that they put on the board was, hey, the first inquiry they got was, hey, I don't want the 1,000 records, just give me the top 20 heaters. You know what I'm saying? And that struck a nerve with me right there. And that was maybe back in like 2013 or something like that. Yeah, and that's before Spotify was really usable because they were so glitchy and they didn't have like enough repertoire.
Yeah, for sure.
Songs.
Especially for DJs, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
You couldn't use Spotify for anything. But as Spotify got more and more catalog, and you could go on Spotify, and that's why it's possible to make these playlists now, because Spotify has everything. And if you think Spotify has everything, YouTube has everything. So not only when you get the site, the bpm.com membership, you don't just get all the Spotify playlists, but you get all the YouTube playlists, which means you get all the music videos also on top of that.
Oh, wow. Gotcha. Cool.
All in one place.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, it's just a whole new era, right? Like, I remember, I spent a lot of money on Crooklyn Clan's website. Like, I mean, they had some amazing mashups and remixes and, like just DJ edits. So, I mean, shout out to them as well. They definitely helped the industry back in that era. But as everything kind of moved over to streaming, right? Like, it's just a different era now.
And rest in peace, Fat Man Scoop. I mean, he must have made hundreds of those.
Absolutely. You're right. Yeah.
So that's like
cool.
That's all the part of the history of where I got to this point. And the site itself has been around. I've had it online for like 3 years maybe, but we have about 330 subscribers right now, and you can subscribe for free. So anybody could jump in and subscribe, and then I give you like a bunch of lists, maybe 20 of the 60. And then once you see what you like, you could decide if you want to pay any more money, and it's just $19.84. That's because in San Francisco, there was a party called 1984, which was an 80s party. And I said, we can't give it for free, but if we're gonna charge something, let's make it so that it's so little that people don't care and they could just cough it up. So 1984 you pay, and for that you get it for a year, and then every year it re-ups, and we keep putting new tracks in there, so all the hottest new stuff is in there. And you get the playlists, and then you could do with them what you want. And now Spotify is integrated into Serato, so you automatically are going to get all the playlists into Serato.
Awesome. And then you mentioned like 1984. Is that for the year or is that per month?
No, that's for a whole year.
For the whole year. Wow. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's basically for free. I mean, we don't want to just give it for free because we want to have some value to it, because it's going to be, it's worth, I would say, as a music lover and somebody whose father spent money, $12, $14 a record, and now records cost $440 or something, it's like, to get Spotify and you're paying Spotify $11 a month or whatever, but to have these playlists curated, I think 1984 is really not that much money to
Definitely not.
to
No,
show
we're
us
talking
your
about like
appreciation.
a little over $1 a month, guys.
A
So
little over $1 a month, and then
yeah, sorry, I thought it was on a monthly basis because that's like, an average subscription is like, 10, $20 a month, but you're saying per year. So we just want to clarify that to the listeners right now. That's per year. Okay.
that's right.
Less than $20 per year. Yeah. Not bad at all.
And what we could do for all your listeners, we'll blast this out to everybody, and hopefully people could share and keep sharing, right? And because that's going to be our motto here, that we want to bring everybody up. And what we could do is from just from the Ben Herman show, all the people who sign up, I'll just on my back end, I'll upgrade you to the free membership, and then you'll get it for the first year for free. Right? How does that sound?
Well, thank you so much. That's very generous of you. Yeah. So where can people go to sign up?
Let's get them to watch the YouTube video. So let's have them put in the comments. Let's put 1984. And then if they put 1984 in there, or how DJs are, that might be too much for them. So like too much. So maybe we just say we want the free one, and then I'll reach out to somebody in their DM on the YouTube and get them upgraded.
Gotcha. Perfect. What about, so I guess in that case, because this is also on all podcast platforms as well.
Nice.
So what Chucky's saying then is like, if you are listening to it on, let's say, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts or whatever, make sure to head over to my YouTube channel, which is at Ben Sean Herman. Sean is spelled the Irish way, so that's S-E-A-N. So Ben Sean Herman, S-E-A-N is how you spell Sean. And or you can just search up, honestly, the Ben Herman Show on YouTube, and it'll pop up. Find this episode and then leave a comment, which is what? You want 1984?
1984 would be cool, but we're not gonna ask too much. Let's make it as easy as possible. So just say, they want the upgrade or anything that says thank you. Let's get the upgrade. 1984 would be the coolest, because then we could see a couple of hundred 1984s in there, and that would be the coolest. And then I'll figure out a way to get them upgraded. They do have to sign up with their email. There's no credit card, no money. We rocking it easy, but they do have to put in their email, and then I can upgrade you.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Chucky. Really appreciate you for jumping on the show and being so generous by hooking up all of our listeners. So listeners, as a friendly reminder, make sure to head on over to the-bpm.com to check out more information about what Chucky's got going on over there. And then if you set up a free account and you want that free upgrade so you can actually save that 1984 a year for the first year, right? Mm-hmm. Head on over to my YouTube channel to find this interview. Again, just search up the Ben Herman Show on YouTube, find this episode, and then from there, comment 1984 or hook me up for free. And Chucky will keep track of those comments to then upgrade you on the back end. Okay, so that way you don't have to pay for the first
and then
year.
the website, just so everybody knows, all the art on there is custom art. And you guys might have heard of Cassius, Sounds of Violence. It's a house music song, or maybe more familiar to you guys is Daft Punk. And this was the artist who used to do all of their artwork, Daft Punk. And
that's amazing.
Cassius.
Wow.
And he designed a whole website just on the whole idea. Hey, I want to do this website. We need to get 1 million views. You want to help? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So he sends art, and that's S-E-N-Z art. And then he did all the artwork on there. So the website, it does not necessarily look like, your Craigslist or your eBay. It looks kind of like a little bit more artistic than that. But hopefully it's easy for everybody to get around and navigate and find the songs. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Chucky. Really appreciate you.
Ben, you made this so easy. I appreciate you having me on the show, and hopefully we get people to go listen to some music.